So huge thanks for joining myself. Look, huge thanks for inviting me on this amazing boat.
Pleasure.
Look, I just love where we are, south of France, but to be fair, this is the highlight of my trip so far. And I've been in, look, it's not about all the time I've been in south of France and, enjoying the scenery, but this is amazing. And maybe on the April the 18th, you can just go into a little bit more detail about how you acquired this particular vessel for the week as well.
It was very complicated. Airbnb. So just like we're out of Mippim, which is a property event in the south of France. It's about 30,000
investors, developers, and people involved. I think they said there's about 600 politicians here as well. So political figures, it's heads of local governments as well. Look, I've been here since Monday and listening to the accents. It's not all people from England by far. There's quite a large North American contingency here as well. It's interesting to say the least, but to be fair, it's more interesting spending time with Ackroyd Lowrie.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Good plug.
Look, key things to get across, first of all, is just to go into Ackroyd Lowrie and who Ackroyd Lowrie is and how you came together. So do you want to just explain a little bit of the history?
Yeah, so we're a team of 12 now based in East London. We work on residential and commercial projects from about 1 to 20 million and master plans up to larger GDVs. John and I, so John is the Ackroyd, I am the Lowrie, met when we were working for another practice, and we had, I was there for 10 years, he was there for 6 years, many happy times there, absolutely loved it. But we felt that it's a very confusing industry, the construction and property industry, and it doesn't feel like anything. It happens in the most efficient way. And so really from the reason we set up Ackroyd Lowrie was to try and innovate, to try and make processes more streamlined.
So I'm slightly distracted by the helicopter.
By the helicopter, it's picking me up after the interview. Yeah. That's for me. Just here. That's the problem with live Facebook streaming. It's going to happen.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, so we wanted to do things differently, and I think that's been our guiding principle from the start.
So, look, we're going to look at technology and so forth, and technology has been late into the property arena. That's the general consensus. Why modular? Modular is one of the big things we are as well. So that's one of the differentials from Ackroyd Lowrie to some of the other architectural practices. And it's also, I would say as well, I know you don't say it, but it's slightly more boutique than, let's say, going for a larger architectural practice who may use VR, may use modular, but they're going to be slightly distanced, to say the least. You're not going to get access to the founders as easily. Well,
I think that, our guiding principle has always been to build an inspiring world. That's really our mission as a company.
What does an inspiring world mean to you?
Well,
is it literally about the buildings, or is there much more to it than?
It's more to it. It's to build a world that people engage with. I think it's an emotional thing as much as it is a physical thing. We want people to love the environment that we create for them, and that really guides us. And the tools that we're using. So you mentioned some of them. So we're really pushing for off-site construction because it's just, we feel, more efficient way to build than it is on muddy building sites. But if you're going to do that,
and particularly in the UK, where you can get delays because of the weather and so forth, as you said I don't want to cut you off too many times, but as you said in the evening meet at Central London, look, you wouldn't design a car, literally just on a field or something, and particularly in terms of number of cars as well. Yeah. What's the best way to be designing something?
Well, I think for the production, manufacturing a building in a factory is more efficient than doing it on site. That's definitely true. But if you're going to do that, then the design process has to be incredibly rigorous. If you want, which we do, to build an inspiring world, then you have to make sure that the thing, before you start mass producing it or producing it in a very efficient way, is the best thing that it can possibly be. And that's why we use virtual reality on all of our projects. So we will, the first thing that we do is listen to our clients, and then the next thing that we do is straight away go into 3D. So we're modeling up different iterations, different versions of buildings and then we will bring our client in and they can walk around the VR model at their own leisure, effectively. We're not trying to push them down a particular avenue, and they will come out of that first meeting and they will very quickly have really grasped what it is that they like and don't like, and we get a lot of certainty through that virtual reality process, and it's like a really effective sign off. And I think all of the things that we're trying to do is to deliver more certainty to an industry that lacks that. You know, the construction industry, people are like, whoa, how long is it going to be? And everyone's like, oh, I don't know, 6 months, and everyone goes, you know. And we want, when people say 6 months, we want it to be 6 months. We want to have a process that's rigorous.
From what I understand, I don't want to play devil's advocate, and I won't do that too much here because it's beautiful weather for starters.
And it's our boat, mate.
Yeah.
You get off.
You know what? One of the problems is where they built. Is it the UK or outside of the UK? Because in terms of production, that's from what I understand, the difficulty it can take in terms of the backlog actually producing it in, you know, what I don't know what words you like me to use in terms of the site where it's actually developed, but it can, you know, sometimes there's a backlog because they're so busy.
Yes, that's definitely true. Some of the larger manufacturers now that are the only ones that are really set up to do, you know, very tall buildings have quite long lead-in times, like very long lead-in times. We just delivered 9 units of affordable housing for Woking Council, and that was built up in Hull, so UK manufacturing. At a time when, you know, there's a skills shortage, which is only going to be exacerbated from Brexit.
And that is I just want to highlight that as well. So not Brexit in too much detail, because I'll leave that to the politicians here at MIPIM and outside of MIPIM as well. But you know, from my experience of talking to developers, and not just London developers, there's also developers outside of London. And one of the key problems at the moment is a shortage of skilled construction workers, because many of those are going back to their home country, possibly, or many of them are actually going to a different country in Europe as well, or further afield where they've got more solid foundation. So it is definitely, from what I understand, from speaking to people, it is having an effect.
But so Mark Farmer wrote this Modernise or Die report, which, you know, highlighted this a few years ago, and I think that offsite is one of those responses to it, because what it allows you to do, I mean, we built these 9 units in Hull and we transported them to Woking, and there's barely two further point. Well, that's not true, but they're far away. And what it does is it allows you to you know, there is quite a lot of skilled labourers where there's in areas where there's less demand for those labourers. So London, you know, there is a skill shortage in terms of skilled labourers on sites. But if you can diversify that around the country into factories, and these new factories are being built. So you're right, at the moment, modular stuff does come from Europe, but the UK government has sort of is giving relief to people setting up offsite factories. I'll just plug it now. We've just written a white paper about offsite volumetric construction specifically. So if you go to the Ackroyd Lowrie website, www.ackroydlowrie.com, it's on the front page. Scroll down, click it. It's a free download, and it's got a lot of information about offsite, specifically volumetric, and it gives the case study that we're talking about. And a lot of this information is in there. But we really think that it's, you know, it is the future. It just doesn't make sense to build things on site. You know, there's 20% of the building that you will always have to do on site, and everybody's going to, you know, that you can accept that. That's fine. But we want to be getting up to 80% off site of components at least manufactured.
Sure. Look, so we've looked at briefly modular. We've looked at VR very, very briefly as well. And we're going to look at a little more about this on the 18th of April. We're going to look about trends in properties. It's a lot more than just trends, because there's a number of different people on that particular panel that night. Look, one thing I haven't actually said in the interview, so apologies. I haven't said you're an award-winning architectural firm as well.
Oh, you have now.
So it's taken about 10 minutes to get the word award-winning, but you know,
it's the first thing I say every morning when I wake up.
So you talked about building an inspired location, London. We haven't said London, but inspired world, in fact.
Inspiring, I think.
Or inspiring, sorry, to be precise. So what does that mean for Ackroyd Lowrie going forward in terms of the next year? So let's just look briefly at the next 12 months. What's the vision for Ackroyd? Well,
we doubled our company last year, and we are hoping to do similar again this year. So being relatively sort of confident with our growth strategy. We want clients that are aligned to our values. We want clients that want to build an inspiring world with us. together. You know, it's not just. I mean, it sounds egotistical that that's what we want to do, but really, it's about partnerships with clients.
So partnerships, something we haven't really emphasised in this video, and it's hard to put everything into a small snapshot because ideally on Facebook Live, most of the listeners are here for a short period of time, and when you come to the evening, then that's the time to get all the juicy information. So we've briefly looked at partnerships. What does partnerships mean to you?
Well, every project is a partnership for us between our client and then the guys that have got to build it. And, you know, we're very collaborative in our approach. And that's technology, again, helps us there. You know, advances in the way that things are modeled means that we can now share 3D models directly with the manufacturers that are manufacturing components. And that's very exciting. You know, that's not always been the case. And we can also equally, we can use virtual reality to share that same model with our clients. So we're all kind of singing off the same song sheet.
No, that's fascinating. And of course, going into a lot more detail on April the 18th. Is there one key question I haven't asked? And look, there's many more. I could stay on this boat for quite a while. But
I hope you do. We've got another bottle of champagne downstairs.
I think I could get chucked out fairly soon for staying over my welcome. But in terms of one other key question, which I haven't asked in this beautiful, amazing weather.
What are you doing tonight?
Okay.
That's the question. Yeah. It's MIPIM. It's all about the evenings, isn't it? So what's your, I'm going to go I'm the interviewer now. Brendan, what are you doing tonight? You've got your wife out here.
Yeah,
with you,
I have,
haven't you?
but this is my last night at MIPIM. So I'm at a networking event, which Land Insight has organised. They were my sponsors.
I think we're going to that as well.
Are you?
Yeah, and Katie.
They were my sponsors for the 28 National Development Summit, giving them a plug, although the event's in the past now. So that's where I will be at 5 p.m. this evening. There's no videos. Well, I'll probably get chucked out if I start interviewing Johnny on video or whoever's in his team, Johnny Britton. So that's where I will be tonight. And then, you know, I'll be back in London tomorrow, East London myself, tomorrow evening, and gearing up, to be fair, for my next event on the 22nd of March. So, you know, I've got 3 monthly meets. You know, huge thanks to those who support me by speaking. You know, huge thanks to Ackroyd Lowrie, who's spoken a number of times now, whether on lives or whether, and this is my first international live as well. So, you know, it's nice to get a first international Facebook Live and interview as well, rather than just me on a video on my own. I did a couple this week on my own, but it's really nice to spend time with one of London's leading architectural firms with innovation as one of the core values. So core values are innovation, partnership, and anything else?
Our actual company values are passion, exploration, fun, trust, and there's another E. Excellence. Thank you, Katie.
Okay. So
I can't believe I got that wrong.
Look, we're going to come offline now. Underneath the video will be an opportunity to book for the event on April the 18th. A lot of my past speakers, panelists will be there. I've already confirmed with some of them. Some of them are former professional sports stars. They like to focus on what they are now rather than what they were in the past. But, you know, former professional sports stars, there's lots of people. There's over 150, 200 people spoken for me over the last 8 years. I can't invite all of them. So
8 years.
Yeah, 8 years. So that's it really, because I just want to say huge thanks to Ollie taking time out this afternoon, Ackroyd Lowrie, for getting me here as well on this amazing vessel, which we are. But it's also the scenery as well. Lovely historic buildings, but of course, you know, this historic and modern, they come together as well. So that's it. I don't know how we switch off because
I can do that.
Oh, you can do that?
I can do that. So thank you very much, Brendan, before we go. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me on your interview.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.